In the summer of 2036, the world changed forever when the Reptilians finally dropped their masks. What began as an ordinary movie night among four unlikely friends quickly spiraled into a desperate fight for survival against an ancient enemy exiled to Earth thousands of years earlier. This is the story of Irene, Sam, Stan, and Cheri, four ordinary people thrust into an extraordinary war. Their journey is one of courage, sarcasm, heartbreak, and unbreakable friendship in the face of unimaginable horror. Not everyone makes it to the end. Some die so others can carry the fight forward. Through blood, loss, and defiance, they prove that humanity's greatest strength has always been its refusal to surrender. This tale is raw, fast-paced, and unflinching, just like the war it depicts. May their story remind you that even in the darkest night, a few determined voices can change everything. The year was 2036, and the quiet cul-de-sac of Willowbrook Estates looked exactly like it had for the past decade. Irene hummed cheerfully while arranging a tray of fresh-baked cookies on the kitchen island, her brunette ponytail swinging with every upbeat step. "Come on, guys. Movie night won't watch itself," she called out, her voice bright enough to cut through any bad mood. In the living room, Stan lounged on the oversized sectional, brown hair tousled, fingers flying across a tablet as he debugged some open-source drone code. "Statistically, movie nights have a 73% chance of someone spilling popcorn," he said dryly, a sarcastic grin tugging at his lips. "I'm just preparing contingency plans." Samantha, Sam to everyone who valued their sanity, flopped dramatically onto the couch beside him, her blonde hair fanning out like a halo of chaos. "Oh no, the Noid's calculating fun again. Quick, someone hide the calculators before he ruins the vibe." She smirked, eyes sparkling with that signature inappropriate timing. "Besides, if anyone's spilling anything tonight, it's gonna be Cheri after 2 glasses of that cheap rose." Cheri, the quiet British blonde curled up in the armchair with her knees drawn to her chest, blushed furiously. "I beg your pardon, Sam. I'm not that much of a lightweight," she murmured shyly, though a small, naive smile betrayed her. She still couldn't quite believe these 3 loud Americans had become her closest friends after she moved here 3 years ago. The 4 of them had been housemates by accident. Cheap rent, good location, and a shared love of not being alone in a world that felt increasingly off-kilter. News reports had been strange lately. Politicians caught in glitches, eyes flickering on camera, sudden policy shifts that made no human sense. But tonight was supposed to be normal. Irene carried the cookies in, beaming. "Who wants horror or comedy? I'm voting comedy, because the world's already weird enough." She plopped down between Stan and Sam, radiating that calm cheerfulness that somehow held their little group together. Stan adjusted his glasses. "I vote we watch something with actual science in it. There's a new documentary on deep space anomalies." "Boring," Sam interrupted, elbowing him. "We need explosions and terrible decisions, like our lives, but with better special effects." Cheri giggled softly. "I don't mind, as long as there's no jumping out of shadows. I still have nightmares from last month's Thriller." The TV flickered on. The emergency broadcast system, tone, suddenly blared through the speakers, freezing everyone mid-laugh. Red text crawled across the screen. "Stay indoors. Report suspicious behavior. Reptilian threat confirmed." "What the actual fuck?" Sam muttered, sarcasm dripping even as her eyes widened. Irene's smile faltered but didn't vanish. "Okay, stay calm. It's probably another hoax. Remember last year's bird flu panic?" Stan was already on his feet, tablet forgotten, moving with surprising calm strength toward the window. He peeked through the blinds. "Guys, that's not a hoax." Outside, chaos was erupting. Neighbors were screaming. Street lights flickered wildly. A man 2 houses down, Mr. Hargrove, the accountant, suddenly convulsed on his lawn. His skin rippled like water, then split open with a wet tearing sound. Something scaled and green erupted from within the collapsing human shell, shrugging off the suit like a discarded coat. Cheri let out a tiny, terrified squeak and covered her mouth. "Oh my God! That's not possible." The creature, tall, reptilian, eyes glowing yellow, turned its head toward their house. More figures were emerging from other homes. Some still wore half-human faces like grotesque masks. Sam stared, then barked a laugh that bordered on hysterical. "Well, fuck me sideways. Lizards in people suits. My ex was right about something after all." Irene moved quickly, her upbeat energy shifting into focused calm. Doors locked. Lights off. Basement. Now. She grabbed Cheri's hand, pulling the shy woman up while nodding at Stan. Stan was already in motion, strong arms hauling the heavy couch toward the front door as a barricade. They've been here thousands of years. Exiles. Punishment for losing some galactic war. I read the leaked documents last week. Thought it was conspiracy shit. The exosuits let them blend in. They hate us. Livestock, basically. Another scream pierced the night, closer this time. Glass shattered somewhere down the block. Sam snatched a baseball bat from the hall closet, twirling it with false bravado. Great. Ancient space, convicts, wearing Karen from next door. Tonight's movie night just got upgraded to survival horror. They rushed downstairs, Irene guiding Cheri, Stan sealing the basement door behind them with tools from his workbench. The air grew thick with tension. Distant sirens wailed. Thumps and crashes echoed from above. Cheri whispered, voice trembling, "What do they want with us?" "Everything," Stan replied quietly, checking his tablet for any local networks still up. "Our planet, our bodies, our extinction. But they're stranded here too. No ride home." A heavy thud landed directly overhead. Claws scraped across the hardwood. A low, hissing voice, inhuman, called out, "We know you're in there, fresh skins." Sam gripped the bat tighter, eyes fierce despite the fear. "Come and get us, you overgrown gecko." Irene placed a steadying hand on Sam's shoulder, her cheerfulness now a quiet, determined shield. "We stick together. No one gets left behind." The four friends huddled in the dim basement light, hearts pounding, as the world above descended into reptilian hell. The night had only just begun. The basement air felt colder now, thick with dust and fear. Irene kept her breathing steady, her cheery optimism transformed into a focused calm that anchored the group. "We're okay. We've got power, water, and each other. That's more than most have, right now." A heavy crash echoed from the kitchen directly above them. Cheri flinched, pressing closer to the wall, her blonde hair falling over wide, terrified eyes. "They're inside. I can hear them slithering." Stan moved like a man who had simulated this scenario 100 times in video games and late-night forums. He quietly unlocked his reinforced workbench cabinet and pulled out a cordless drill, a crowbar, and a small 3D printed pistol he'd never thought he'd actually fire. Reptilians, exiled after they lost the Draconian Wars about 3,000 years ago. The Galactic Council dumped them here with limited tech. They've been wearing us like coats ever since, waiting for the right moment. Sam gripped the baseball bat, her sarcasm cutting through the tension like a knife. "Fantastic. We're fighting cosmic deadbeats who lost their intergalactic custody battle. My tax dollars at work." Even now, she managed a wicked grin. "If one of them asks for our skins, I'm telling them to fuck off and try Etsy." Another thud. This time the basement door rattled violently on its hinges. A guttural hiss slithered through the cracks. "Come out, little mammals. Your scent is delicious." Cheri whimpered. "That voice, it sounds like Mr. Hargrove, but wrong." "All wrong." Irene grabbed a heavy flashlight and clicked it on, sweeping the beam across their makeshift fortress. "Stan, can we block it better?" Sam, watch the small window. Cheri, stay between us. Stan nodded, his brown hair sticking to his forehead with sweat as he dragged a metal shelving unit against the door with surprising strength. They're stronger than us, but not invincible. The exosuit process is painful for them too. That's why they usually stay hidden. The door buckled inward with a sickening crack. A clawed green hand punched through the wood, talons glinting under the emergency light. Sam didn't hesitate. She swung the bat, with everything she had, connecting with a wet crunch. "Eat wood, you scaled bastard!" she yelled, laughing wildly even as adrenaline made her hands shake. The creature roared in pain and withdrew, but only for a moment. More scraping came from the window well outside. Stan cursed under his breath and handed Irene the drill. "They're flanking us. These things coordinate like pack hunters." Irene took the tool, her upbeat personality refusing to crack. Then we hit harder. Together. She drove screws into the window frame reinforcements Stan had installed months ago for just-in-case reasons. Cheri, despite her shyness, surprised everyone by picking up a heavy wrench and standing ready. I won't let them take us quietly," she whispered, voice trembling but determined. The main door exploded inward in a shower of splinters. A towering reptilian figure burst through, standing nearly 7 feet tall, its yellow eyes burning with ancient hatred. Patches of half-digested human flesh still clung to its scales, Mr. Hargrove's remnants. This one felt different, smarter, crueler. "I am Vexer," it hissed, voice like gravel and venom. "Overseer of this sector. Your neighborhood belongs to us now." Stan fired the small pistol. The shot grazed Vexer's shoulder, drawing dark green blood. The creature screamed and lunged with blinding speed, slamming Stan against the wall. Cheri cried out and swung her wrench, hitting the alien's arm. Sam charged in, bat cracking against Vexer's knee. "Get your claws off my nerd, lizard breath." Irene moved with calm precision, jabbing the powered drill straight into the creature's side. The reptilian howled and backhanded her, sending her crashing into a storage shelf. Pain flared across her ribs, but she kept smiling through gritted teeth. "Is that all you've got?" Vexer retreated a step, bleeding and furious, yellow eyes locking onto each of them in turn. "You four will make excellent new suits, especially the loud blonde. Her tongue will look nice mounted on my wall." "Over my dead body," Sam spat. "That can be arranged," Vexer hissed, then suddenly turned and fled back up the stairs with surprising speed, leaving a trail of green blood. The group stood panting in the ruined basement, hearts hammering. Stan wiped blood from a cut on his forehead. "He'll be back, with more. We can't stay here." Irene straightened up, already assessing their options despite the pain. "Then we gear up and move. There's an old storm shelter 2 blocks over, and my brother's cabin up in the hills. We make it there. We regroup." Cheri helped Stan to his feet, her naive hope flickering. "We can do this, right?" Sam twirled the bloody bat, grinning fiercely. "Hell yeah. First one to die gets roasted in the group chat." Stan managed a weak, sarcastic laugh. "Noted. Now, let's move before our new overlord brings friends." They quickly stuffed backpacks with food, water, weapons, and Stan's precious tablet. Outside, distant screams and gunfire painted the night in chaos. Willowbrook Estates had become a war zone. As they crept up the stairs toward the back door, Vexer's chilling laugh echoed from somewhere in the darkness beyond the broken windows. The real hunt had just begun. The back door creaked open into a nightmare. Irene led the way, flashlight beam cutting through the smoke-filled night, her upbeat voice now a steady whisper of encouragement. "Stay close. We move fast. Stay quiet when we can." Gunfire crackled 3 blocks away. A car exploded somewhere near the main road, lighting up the sky in orange fury. Stan clutched his tablet and pistol, brown hair matted with sweat, eyes scanning every shadow with nerdy precision. Local networks are down, but I'm picking up emergency mesh signals. The military is responding slowly. Sam gripped her bat like a sword, blonde hair wild. Slowly? Brilliant. While the army figures out their PowerPoint, we're playing hide-and-seek with walking handbags. She kicked a piece of shattered exosuit flesh off the porch. Ugh. Smells like wet snake and regret. Cheri stayed glued between Stan and Irene, wrench trembling in her small hands. "I can't believe this is real," she murmured in her soft British accent. "I thought the news was always exaggerating. Like that time with the fake moon base." They sprinted across the backyard, leaping the low fence into the neighbor's garden. A half-shed reptilian skin lay draped over the rose bushes like a discarded Halloween costume. Vexer's trail of green blood led toward the street. "Keep moving," Irene urged, calm despite the chaos. She helped Cheri over a fallen trellis. "The storm shelter is just past the park. We can hold out there until sunrise." A scream ripped through the air ahead. Two reptilians dragged a struggling family from their home, scales glistening under streetlights. One of the aliens was already beginning the horrific skinning process, its claws slicing with surgical precision. Stan pulled them behind a parked SUV. "They're efficient. Thousands of years of practice, wearing us. But they're still cut off from their empire. No reinforcements coming." Sam peeked around the bumper. "Great history lesson, Professor. Less talking, more head bashing." She spotted Vexer directing the others from a rooftop 2 houses down, his yellow eyes scanning the neighborhood like a predator king. The group dashed forward, hearts pounding. They crossed into the park, shoes pounding on the once peaceful jogging path, now littered with abandoned bikes and shoes. Cheri tripped over a discarded exosuit leg, nearly crying out, but Stan caught her with strong arms. "Thank you," she whispered shyly, cheeks flushing even in the middle of hell. "Don't thank me yet," Stan replied with a sarcastic half-grin. "We're still probably going to die dramatically." They reached the edge of the park when ambush struck. 3 reptilians burst from the tree line, hissing triumphantly. One lunged at Cheri. Sam swung her bat in a perfect arc, cracking its jaw with a sickening snap. "Not today, Crocodile Dundee." Irene charged the second with the drill, the tool whining as it bored into scaled flesh. The creature roared and slashed her arm, drawing red human blood. She didn't scream, just kept that determined, cheery fire in her eyes. "We are not your suits." Stan fired carefully, dropping the third with 2 precise shots to the head. "Their eyes and the base of the neck are weak points. Aim there." Vexer's voice boomed from the darkness. "Run all you want, mammals. This world is already ours. Your governments were ours for decades." The 4 sprinted harder, cutting through backyards and alleys. Sirens wailed in the distance, mixing with alien shrieks and human cries. A military helicopter thundered overhead, its spotlight sweeping the chaos before a reptilian rocket brought it spiraling down in flames. Cheri was breathing hard, naive hope cracking under terror. "Why do they hate us so much?" "Because we're free," Stan answered between strides. "They lost their war, got exiled here as punishment, and they've resented every breathing human ever since." Sam laughed breathlessly, sarcasm sharp as ever. "Boo-fucking who? Cry me a river, then drown in it, you scaly exiles." They finally reached the reinforced storm shelter at the edge of the subdivision. Stan worked the lock with tools from his pack, while Irene and Sam held off 2 more pursuing reptilians. Cheri helped push the heavy door open once unlocked. Inside, they slammed it shut and barred it just as claws scraped against the metal. Vexer's furious hiss echoed outside. "I will wear your skins personally." The shelter was dusty but solid. Emergency lights, canned food, a radio. They collapsed against the walls, panting, bleeding, but alive. Irene tore a strip from her shirt to bandage her arm. smiling through the pain. We made it. First step. Tomorrow we head for the hills. Stan checked his tablet. Signal's weak, but I'm getting fragments. The invasion is worldwide, but there are resistance cells forming. Cheri sat quietly, hugging her knees, then surprised them all. I want to fight. Properly. No more hiding. Sam grinned, wiping green blood from her bat. That's my shy Brit. Welcome to the apocalypse, love. Outside, Vexer paced, plotting. He had marked these four. Their defiance would not go unpunished. The night stretched on, filled with distant screams, as the friends caught their breath and prepared for whatever came next. The storm's shelter smelled of concrete, rust, and fear sweat. Irene moved first, her cheerful energy channeling into practical calm as she inventoried supplies. We've got enough food for 3 days, if we're careful. Water for longer. Stan, see what you can pull from that emergency radio. Stan nodded, his strong hands already working on the old device, while his nerdy brain calculated odds. Reptilians are coordinated but not infinite. They're stranded here, punishment detail from a war they started and lost badly. No mothership coming to save them. That's our edge. Sam leaned against the wall, twirling her bloody bat with restless energy. Edge. We're 4 assholes in a hole, while lizard people are turning the suburbs into an all-you-can-wear buffet. She flashed a sharp grin. At least the HOA fees are finally justified. Cheri sat on a metal bench, hugging herself, her British accent softer than ever. Do you really think we can reach the hills? My mom always said the countryside was safer during crises, though I doubt she imagined scaly aliens wearing people like fancy coats. A heavy bang rattled the shelter door. Claws scraped metal. Vexer's voice slithered through the seams, cold and personal. I can smell your blood, Irene. The cheerful one always breaks so satisfyingly. Irene's smile tightened, but didn't fade. Ignore him. He's trying to rattle us. Sam barked a laugh. Too late, mate. My rattle's been maxed since the first skin suit hit the lawn. She walked over and kicked the door. Oi, Vexer, your mum called. She wants her failed invasion back. The reptilian roared in fury outside. More claws joined his. They were digging, testing weak points. Stan pulled up a faint signal on the radio. Static cracked. Then a desperate human voice came through. Resistance forming at the old industrial park. Repeat, anyone alive, head to the industrial park. They hate fire and high-frequency sound. Spread the word. The transmission died. Industrial Park is 6 miles from here, Stan said, checking his tablet's offline maps. We'd have to cross the highway. Risky, but the hills might be even farther with Vexer on our tail. Cheri stood up, surprising herself with her own determination. I vote we try. Staying here feels like waiting to be harvested. Irene placed a steady hand on Cheri's shoulder. That's the spirit. We leave at first light. Rest while you can. They took shifts. Stan stayed up first, strong and calm, reinforcing the door with whatever scrap he could find. Sam relieved him 2 hours later, cracking sarcastic jokes to keep the fear at bay. Nothing like apocalyptic guard duty to really bond with the lads and ladies. When it was Irene's turn, she found Cheri still awake, eyes wide in the dim emergency lighting. Can't sleep? Irene asked gently. Cheri shook her head. Every time I close my eyes, I see that thing bursting out of Mr. Hargrove. How long have they been among us? Decades at least, Irene replied, keeping her voice upbeat but honest. Wearing politicians, celebrities, neighbors, hiding in plain sight while they prepared this. Outside, Vexer's forces prowled. The group heard distant screams fading as the night wore on. At one point a reptilian tried the ventilation shaft. Sam stabbed her bat through the grate with vicious accuracy. Not today, Scaleface. Dawn broke gray and smoky. They emerged cautiously, backpacks heavy, weapons ready. The park looked like a battlefield. Overturned cars, abandoned exosuits, green blood splatters. They moved fast, sticking to alleys and tree lines. Stan led with quiet confidence, pointing out patrol patterns. They're nocturnal by preference. Sunlight weakens their eyes slightly. Halfway to the highway, they ran into trouble. A squad of 5 reptilians was herding a group of captured humans toward a large truck. Vexer stood atop the vehicle like a conqueror, yellow eyes scanning. "There," he hissed, spotting the 4 friends. "The defiant ones. Bring me their skins intact." Chaos erupted. Sam charged with a battle cry, bat swinging. "Come get some, you discount dinosaur." Irene fought beside her, drill whining as it tore into scales. Stan fired precise shots, dropping 1 reptilian cleanly. Cheri, overcoming her shyness, smashed her wrench into a knee joint, then ducked as claws whistled past her head. They broke through the line, but not without cost. A deep gash opened across Stan's side. He grunted in pain, but kept running. "Keep moving. Highway's just ahead." Vexer leaped from the truck, landing with terrifying grace. "You only delay the inevitable." They sprinted across the overpass, dodging wrecked vehicles. Below, more battles raged between human survivors and reptilian forces. Sirens still wailed in the distance. The 4 tumbled down an embankment on the far side, bruised and bleeding, but free for the moment. Stan pressed a hand to his wound, face pale. Irene's cheerfulness held firm as she helped him up. "We're almost there. Just a little farther." Sam looked back, eyes fierce. "That bastard's obsessed now." Cheri nodded, quiet resolve growing. "Then we make him regret it." They pressed on toward the industrial park, Vexer's furious roars echoing behind them. The hunt was far from over. The industrial park loomed ahead like a rusting fortress under a smoke-choked sky. Irene supported Stan with one arm. Her brunette ponytail streaked with dirt and blood, yet her voice stayed bright and steady. "We're nearly there. You're doing great, Stan. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other." Stan winced, pressing a makeshift bandage to his bleeding side. "Statistically, this wound has a 38% chance of infection. But hey, at least the adrenaline's keeping me upright." His sarcastic grin was weaker than usual, but his strong frame still pushed forward. Sam scanned the perimeter, bat resting on her shoulder. 38%. "Nerd, if you die on me, I'm stealing your tablet and live-streaming your funeral to whatever's left of the internet." She laughed sharply, masking her real worry. "Come on, big guy. Don't make me miss your lame jokes." Cheri walked close beside them, wrench clutched tightly, her quiet British voice trembling but gaining strength. "There are lights ahead. People, actual people. I hope they're not, you know." They slipped through a broken chain-link fence into the maze of warehouses and factories. Gunfire and the occasional reptilian shriek echoed between buildings. A group of armed survivors had barricaded themselves inside a large distribution center, waving them over frantically. "Get inside!" a bearded man shouted. "They're circling back." The 4 friends rushed through the loading dock doors. Inside, 24 humans, some soldiers, some civilians, had set up a rough command post with maps, weapons, and a jury-rigged radio. Irene immediately helped Stan sit against a crate, while a woman with medical training rushed over to treat his wound. Sam leaned against a pillar, catching her breath. "Nice setup. Very post-apocalyptic chic. You guys take reservations, or is it first come, first served against the lizard apocalypse?" One of the survivors, a former factory foreman, nodded grimly. "We've held them off for 6 hours. They call themselves the Exiled. Said they lost some big galactic war thousands of years ago, and Earth was their prison. Now they want payback." Cheri spoke up shyly. "We met their leader, Vexer. He's obsessed with us." The radio crackled. Reports flooded in. Reptilian forces consolidating in the city center, rounding up more humans for skinning. Stan, even while being stitched, pulled out his tablet. If we can broadcast a high-frequency pulse on the old emergency towers, it might disrupt their coordination. Their biology is sensitive to certain sound waves. Irene smiled proudly, her upbeat nature lifting the room. See? We brought our own genius. What do you need, Stan? Before he could answer, the building shook. Explosive charges ripped through the far wall. Reptilians poured in, Vexor at the front, his yellow eyes blazing with fury. There you are, the four who dare resist. Chaos exploded. Sam roared with laughter as she charged. Miss us, Scaleface? We brought friends this time. Her bat cracked against the first reptilian's skull with savage force. Irene grabbed a fallen rifle, firing with calm precision while shouting encouragement. Stay together. Aim for the eyes and neck. We've got this. Cheri surprised everyone again, swinging her wrench in tight, desperate arcs, and staying close to protect Stan while he worked frantically on a laptop pulled from a dead soldier's pack. I won't let them near you, she cried, her naive bravery blooming under fire. Stan typed one-handed, blood soaking his shirt. Almost got it. Just need to reroute the signal. Vexor barreled straight toward them, smashing survivors aside like toys. Your skins will decorate my new throne, especially the quiet ones. So soft, so breakable. Sam intercepted him, taunting wildly. You want her? Gotta go through this loud bitch first. She dodged a claw strike and smashed her bat into his injured knee from the night before. The high-frequency broadcast suddenly screamed through every speaker and tower in range. Reptilians across the warehouse clutched their heads, screeching in agony. Several collapsed, scales cracking. Vexor fought through the pain, lunging and slashing Stan across the chest. In a vicious arc, Stan gasped and crumpled. No, Irene screamed, unloading her rifle into the reptilian leader. The survivors rallied, driving the invaders back. Vexor retreated through the hole in the wall, bleeding heavily, but still alive, hissing promises of vengeance. This is not over. The building fell quiet except for moans of the wounded. Cheri dropped to her knees beside Stan, tears streaming down her face. Stan, please. He looked up at them, brown eyes fading but still sarcastic. Told you movie night was risky. A weak grin. Keep fighting, don't let the lizards win. Irene held his hand tightly, her cheerfulness cracking for the first time as tears welled up. Sam stood over them, bat dripping green and red, silent for once. Stan's breathing slowed, then stopped. The four were now three. Outside, distant explosions continued as humanity fought back. Vexor's forces regrouped in the shadows, their leader more enraged than ever. The resistance had won a battle, but the war, and the personal hunt, had only grown deadlier. The warehouse fell into a heavy, ringing silence, broken only by distant gunfire and the crackle of small fires. Irene knelt beside Stan's still body, her hand still gripping his, tears cutting clean lines through the dirt and blood on her face. Her usual cheerfulness had fractured, but she refused to shatter completely. You did it, Stan. You saved a lot of us, you brilliant, sarcastic idiot. Sam stood over them like a bloodied sentinel, her blonde hair matted, knuckles white around the bat. Fuck everything. Her voice cracked, despite the sarcasm. We were supposed to roast him in the group chat. Not this. She turned away sharply, wiping her eyes with a bloody sleeve before anyone could comment. Cheri sobbed quietly, her British accent thick with grief. He was so strong, so calm. He caught me when I fell, and now he's gone. She reached out and gently closed Stan's eyes, her shy hands trembling. Thank you for protecting us. The resistance leader gave them a moment, before speaking. "We're pulling out. They'll regroup and hit harder. Vexor has marked you three. You should come with us to the fallback point in the hills." Irene stood slowly, brushing Stan's hair back one last time. "We're not leaving him for them to desecrate." Her voice carried that calm steel again. "We burn the building if we have to. He gets a warrior's send-off." Sam nodded fiercely. "Damn right. Let's light these lizard bastards' playground on fire." They worked fast. While survivors gathered supplies and weapons, the three women prepared a small pyre near the loading dock, using broken crates and spilled fuel. Cheri whispered a soft goodbye in her gentle accent. Sam cracked one last inappropriate joke through tears. "Don't worry, nerd. No more movie nights with your lame documentaries," then stepped back as Irene lit the flame. The fire roared up just as reptilian howls echoed outside. Vexor's forces were returning. "Time to move," Irene shouted, shouldering a rifle. Her upbeat fire rekindled into determined leadership. They ran with the resistance group through the back warehouses, dodging flames and collapsing beams. Sam covered the rear, smashing any reptilian that got too close. "Come on then. Who wants some bat therapy next?" A squad of 6 aliens burst through a side door. Cheri surprised herself again by grabbing a fallen pistol and firing. Her shots were shaky, but one caught a reptilian in the neck. "For Stan!" she yelled, voice cracking but fierce. Irene moved with calm precision, picking targets and calling out warnings. "Left flank. Cheri, stay low. Sam, don't get cocky." They burst out into the smoky night air, sprinting toward waiting trucks. Vexor appeared atop a nearby crane, silhouetted against the burning warehouse, roaring in pure hatred. "Your male died, screaming inside. The rest of you will beg for the same fate." Sam flipped him off as she climbed into the truck bed, screaming, "He died saving lives. You glorified garden lizard. Choke on that." The convoy tore out of the industrial park, tires screeching, gunfire lighting up the darkness. Reptilians gave chase on foot and in stolen vehicles, their yellow eyes glowing. One truck took a direct hit and flipped, but the others pushed through toward the hills. Inside their truck, Cheri sat between Irene and Sam, still processing everything. "It feels wrong without him. He always had a plan, or at least a sarcastic comment about the plan." Irene squeezed her hand, forcing a small smile. "Then we become the plan. Stan gave us the frequency weapon idea. We honor him by using it." Sam reloaded her bat, with fresh nails from a toolbox, grinning through grief. "And by turning Vexor into expensive luggage. I called dibs on his skull as a paperweight." The convoy wound into the forested hills as dawn approached. They reached an old mountain lodge that had been converted into a larger resistance base, generators humming, scouts on the roof, makeshift defenses going up everywhere. As they unloaded, a scout reported bad news. Vexor had survived the frequency blast and was rallying other sector overseers. He wanted the 3 women specifically. Their defiance had become legend in a single night. Irene stood on the lodge steps, looking out over the smoky valley where Stan's fire still burned in the distance. "We rest a few hours, then we hit back. Hard." Cheri nodded, her naive hope hardening into quiet resolve. "No more running." Sam cracked her neck. "Good, because I've got a lot of unresolved anger, and one very sturdy bat." Vexor's distant roars carried on the wind, promising more blood. The war for Earth had claimed its first of their family, but the remaining 3 were far from finished. The mountain lodge buzzed with desperate energy under the pale morning light. Irene stood at a makeshift planning table, her brunette hair tied back tightly, eyes sharp with focused determination. "We've lost too many already. Stan bought us this chance with his life. Let's not waste it." Sam paced nearby, sharpening nails for her bat with aggressive scrapes. "Waste it? I plan on wasting every lizard that shows its ugly face. Especially Vexer. I want to turn his hide into boots. Her sarcasm carried a razor edge of grief-fueled rage. Size 12, extra venomous. Cheri sat quietly at first, then spoke up in her soft British accent, surprising even herself. The frequency weapon Stan started. Could we amplify it? Maybe mount it on one of the trucks. Her shyness was cracking further with every hour of this nightmare, replaced by a quiet, growing resolve. The Resistance commander, a grizzled ex-Marine named Reyes, nodded approvingly. We've got engineers here. If your nerd friend's notes are solid, we might disrupt an entire reptilian command node. Hours blurred into frantic preparation. Irene moved between groups with her trademark cheer, encouraging exhausted fighters and helping organize supplies. We've survived the first night. That means we can survive the next. Keep moving, keep fighting. Sam taught an impromptu combat class near the Trilene, demonstrating bat techniques with wild flair. Swing like you mean it. These bastards wear our friends as pajamas. Show them what angry humans look like. She landed a crushing blow on a training dummy, then grinned inappropriately. And if one offers you a skin upgrade, tell him to shove it up his cloaca. Cheri worked with the tech team, her naive curiosity actually helping, as she pointed out simple but effective tweaks to Stan's original frequency code. He was always so clever with these things, she murmured, a sad smile touching her lips. I think he'd be proud. By midday, scouts reported movement. Vexer had gathered forces at the base of the hills. He was coming for them personally. Tension thickened as the sun dipped lower. Irene gathered the three of them in a quiet corner of the lodge. Whatever happens, we stay together. No heroics. Stan would call us idiots if we got separated. Too late, Sam snorted. We're already the poster children for bad decisions. But yeah, together. She bumped Cheri's shoulder gently, even the quiet ones turning into a warrior. Stan would have loved seeing that. Cheri blushed, but straightened her back. I'm tired of being afraid. They've taken enough from us. Night fell fast in the mountains. Alarms suddenly blared. Reptilians were advancing up the trails. The battle erupted without warning. Gunfire lit the darkness. High-frequency emitters mounted on trucks began broadcasting, sending painful waves rolling down the slopes. Reptilians screamed and staggered, but Vexer's elite guard pushed through wearing crude ear protection, made from human tech. Irene fired from behind a barricade, calm and precise. Aim for the big one. Vexer's here. Sam charged out with a group of fighters, bats swinging in vicious arcs. There's the overgrown gecko. Come get some therapy, you scaly failure. She crushed one reptilian's skull and laughed wildly as green blood sprayed. Cheri stayed near the emitters, defending the techs with a rifle. Her shots were steadier now, each one accompanied by a soft but determined whisper. For Stan. Vexer broke through the outer line, towering and furious, fresh scars from their previous encounters gleaming on his scales. You three insects have cost me too much. Your world will burn for this defiance. He charged straight toward the command center. Irene met him with a grenade tossed at his feet, the explosion knocking him sideways. Sam followed up with a brutal bat strike to his tail, nearly severing it. How's that feel, asshole? Not so superior now, huh? The reptilian roared and backhanded Sam hard, sending her flying into a stack of crates. Cheri screamed and opened fire, hitting Vexer multiple times in the chest. He staggered but kept coming, yellow eyes locked on Irene. You, the cheerful one, he hissed, voice dripping venom. I will enjoy breaking you most. Irene stood her ground, rifle clicking empty. She drew a combat knife, fire burning in her eyes. You stranded losers started a war and lost. Earth isn't your prison anymore. It's your graveyard. The fight intensified as more reptilians breached the perimeter. The resistance was holding, but barely. Sam dragged herself up, bloody and furious. Cheri ran to support her. The three women faced Vexor together as the Mountain Knight exploded around them. The Mountain Knight had turned into a blazing war zone. Flames from Molotovs and exploding vehicles lit the trees in flickering orange. Irene gripped her combat knife tightly, her cheerful optimism now a blade of pure resolve. "Together!" she shouted, voice carrying over the chaos. "We end this bastard tonight." Vexor lunged with terrifying speed, claws slashing. Irene dodged and struck fast, slicing a deep gash across his arm. Green blood sprayed across the dirt. Sam scrambled to her feet, spitting blood and grinning like a madwoman. "You hit like a wet noodle, Scaleface. My grandma punches harder after Cheri night." She charged in low, swinging her nailed bat in a wide, vicious arc that connected with Vexor's ribs. The crack echoed like breaking timber. Cheri fired her rifle from one knee, each shot steadier than the last. "Leave them alone," she yelled, her British accent sharp with fury. A bullet punched into Vexor's shoulder, making him stagger. The reptilian overseer roared in pain and rage. "You primitive apes! We ruled galaxies before your species learned to walk upright. This planet is our sentence, and now it will be your tomb." Resistance fighters clashed with reptilian waves all around them. High-frequency emitters continued screaming, dropping lesser aliens, while Vexor's elite pushed forward wearing scavenged ear protection. Irene rolled under a sweeping claw strike and stabbed upward into Vexor's thigh. "Your sentence ends here. No more wearing our people like cheap costumes." Sam laughed wildly as she ducked a tail whip. "Cheap? Mate, your whole invasion is bargain bin garbage. Even your exosuits look like they came from Wish." She smashed the bat into his knee again, widening the old wound from the storm shelter. Vexor backhanded her hard, but this time Sam rolled with the blow and came up swinging. Cheri moved in closer than she'd ever dared before, emptying her magazine into the creature's side before reloading with shaking but determined hands. "You've changed, little mouse," Vexor hissed at Cheri, yellow eyes narrowing. "I will enjoy skinning you slowly. Your screams will be exquisite." "Not today," Cheri whispered, then surprised everyone by charging forward and driving a combat knife, Stan's knife, straight into Vexor's chest. The blade sank deep between scales. The reptilian howled and flung her backward. Cheri hit the ground hard, gasping for air. Irene was there instantly, helping her up while firing one-handed with a scavenged pistol. "You're doing amazing, Cheri. Keep breathing." Sam didn't stop talking even while bleeding. "That's my girl. Shy little Brit turning into a goddamn reptilian slayer. Stan's probably laughing his ass off in Valhalla right now." Vexor pulled the knife from his chest with a wet snarl. "Enough games." He signaled with a sharp gesture. Dozens more reptilians surged up the slope, overwhelming several resistance positions. The tide was turning against them. Irene made a split-second decision. Fall back to the lodge. We make our stand inside. Her calm leadership cut through the panic as survivors retreated in disciplined groups. They ran, dragging wounded with them. Sam covered the rear, smashing any alien that got too close. "Come on, you glorified snakes. Is that all you've got after 3,000 years of sulking?" Inside the lodge, they barricaded doors and windows while engineers desperately boosted the frequency emitters. Vexor's voice boomed from outside, amplified by rage. "I will peel you three personally and wear your skins to the victory feast." Cheri leaned against a wall, catching her breath, eyes wide but no longer naive. "He's never going to stop, is he? Not until we're dead." Irene wiped blood from her cheek and smiled that familiar, unbreakable smile. "Then we make sure we're harder to kill than he expects." Sam twirled her bat, green blood dripping from the nails. Plan B. Piss him off so much he has an aneurysm. I'm excellent at that. Explosions rocked the lodge foundation. Claws tore at reinforced doors. The three women positioned themselves at the main hall, surrounded by the last determined fighters. Vexor was coming. The final push had begun. The lodge shook as if the mountain itself wanted to throw them off. Windows exploded inward under heavy, reptilian fire. Irene crouched behind an overturned table, rifle steady in her hands, her cheery voice now a beacon cutting through panic. Hold the line. They bleed, just like us. We've hurt him before. We'll hurt him worse. Sam reloaded with lightning speed, her blonde hair wild and streaked with green. Hurt him. I want to make him my new handbag. Limited edition. Vexor's regret collection. She popped up and fired 3 rapid shots through a shattered window, dropping 1 charging reptilian. That's for Stan. You cloaca-sucking exiles. Cheri knelt beside her, firing with quiet intensity. Her British accent had lost most of its tremble. They're coming through the east wing. We need more bodies on that door. She had fully shed her old shyness, under the pressure of constant survival, moving with surprising purpose. Vexor's roar boomed over the chaos. Your little mountain nest ends tonight. Surrender the 3 who killed my brothers, and I may let the rest of you die quickly. A section of the wall near the kitchen caved in. 3 elite reptilians burst through, scales scarred from previous fights. Irene spun and opened fire, calm precision dropping 1 instantly. Sam charged the second like a blonde hurricane, bat cracking against its jaw with a wet crunch. Dance with me, ugly. Cheri supported them, picking off the third with careful shots. They're testing us, she said breathlessly. Vexor's learning how we fight. Outside, the high-frequency emitters whined at full power. Several reptilians dropped, clutching their heads. But Vexor stormed forward wearing a crude helmet made from scrap and human bone. He smashed through the front barricade like it was paper. There you are, he hissed, yellow eyes locking on the 3 women. The cheerful leader, the loudmouth, and the little mouse who learned to bite. Irene stood tall, refusing to back down. You lost your war thousands of years ago. Earth isn't your redemption arc. It's your retirement home, and we're evicting you. Sam laughed sharply. Retirement? Mate, you lot look like you've been cosplaying humans since the dinosaurs got boring. Time to go extinct properly. Vexor lunged. The fight turned brutal and personal. His claws raked across Sam's shoulder, drawing deep red lines. She screamed but answered with a bat strike that shattered several of his ribs. Cheri fired point-blank into his side while Irene slashed at his legs, trying to bring the giant down. You fight well for cattle, Vexor snarled, grabbing Cheri by the throat and lifting her off the ground. But cattle you remain. Irene's eyes blazed. She drove her knife into Vexor's armpit. A weak point Stan had once pointed out on his tablet. The reptilian howled and dropped Cheri, who gasped for air on the floor. Sam tackled Vexor's leg, stabbing wildly. Get your filthy claws off her. Resistance fighters poured in from other rooms, turning the main hall into a swirling melee. Tables splintered, guns barked, claws tore flesh. The lodge was losing structural integrity fast. Beams cracked overhead. A desperate plan formed in Irene's mind. Cheri, get to the generator room. Overload the emitters and aim them at full power right here. Sam, cover her. Cheri nodded, wiping blood from her lip, and sprinted down the hallway with Sam right behind her, bat dripping. We're not dying in here, Sam yelled, smashing a pursuing reptilian. Vexor focused entirely on Irene now, the two circling each other amid the chaos. Your friends will die. Then I will wear you as my finest trophy. Irene smiled. That same bright, unbreakable smile. You talk too much for a loser who got exiled by his own people." The building groaned. Cheri and Sam reached the generator. Sparks flew as they rerouted power. The emitters inside the lodge suddenly screamed at maximum. A focused sonic blast centered on the main hall. Reptilians dropped screaming. Vexor staggered, blood leaking from his ears and eyes, but he still charged Irene with pure hatred. The floor beneath them began to collapse. The lodge shuddered violently as the overloaded emitters unleashed a piercing sonic hell directly into the main hall. Vexor roared in agony, blood pouring from every orifice on his scaled head. Irene rolled sideways, just as the massive reptilian crashed through the floorboards where she had stood moments earlier. "Move!" Irene shouted, her voice still carrying that core of calm cheer even as the world fell apart around them. "The whole building's coming down." Sam kicked open the generator room door, dragging Cheri with her. "Time to leave this death trap. I'm not dying under IKEA reject timber. Thank you very much." The three women sprinted through collapsing hallways as beams snapped and ceilings rained down. Vexor tore after them, maddened by pain and hatred, smashing through debris like an unstoppable green tank. "You will not escape me." A massive section of the roof caved in behind them, burying several reptilians and resistance fighters alike. Irene leaped over a widening crack in the floor, grabbing Cheri's hand to pull her across. Sam brought up the rear, smashing a smaller reptilian that tried to intercept them. "Keep running, you glorified belt." Sam taunted Vexor. "Your cardio sucks after 3,000 years of hiding in skin suits." They burst out of the front entrance, just as the entire lodge gave a final, groaning death rattle and collapsed in on itself. The explosion of dust and debris threw all three women forward. Irene landed hard but rolled to her feet quickly, helping the others up. Vexor exploded out of the wreckage like a demon, battered, bleeding, and missing chunks of scales, but still very much alive. His yellow eyes burned with pure murder. All of this because of you three insects. Resistance survivors rallied around the women, forming a defensive line on the rocky clearing. Guns fired, Molotovs flew, but Vexor's remaining elite guard charged with him in a final desperate assault. Irene took command naturally. "Concentrate fire on Vexor. Cheri, get to the secondary emitter truck. Sam, you're with me." Cheri nodded, her quiet determination now fully steel. "I won't let you down." She ran low through the chaos, dodging claws and bullets, her blonde hair whipping behind her. Sam stood shoulder to shoulder with Irene, bat in one hand and a rifle in the other. "Let's dance, Lizard King." Final round, no rematches. Vexor slammed into their line like a freight train. He backhanded two fighters aside and swung at Irene. She ducked and fired upward into his jaw. Sam leaped onto his back, stabbing down repeatedly with a combat knife. "How's this feel, you walking suitcase?" The reptilian thrashed wildly, throwing Sam off. She hit the ground rolling, but came up laughing through pain. "Worth it." Cheri reached the truck and activated the backup sonic array. A focused beam slammed into Vexor, dropping him to one knee. He screamed, a sound that echoed across the mountain. Irene pressed the advantage, charging forward with surprising speed. "This is for Stan, for every person you skinned, for our home." She emptied her magazine into his chest at close range. Vexor grabbed her by the leg and hurled her aside. Irene crashed into a boulder, the impact knocking the wind out of her. Pain flared through her ribs. Sam went berserk, raining blows on Vexor's head with her bat. "Get your hands off her." The giant reptilian rose one last time, towering over Sam, claws raised for the killing strike. Then Cheri's voice rang out, clear and strong. Now, the secondary emitter hit maximum. Vexor convulsed violently. Scales cracked and split. He let out one final, earth-shaking roar of defiance before collapsing forward. The mountain fell strangely quiet except for the crackling of fires and distant fighting. Irene limped over, breathing hard. The three women stood together over Vexor's broken body as resistance fighters cheered. But the Reptilian's eyes flickered open one last time. "This is not the end," he hissed with his dying breath. "My kind are everywhere." Then he went still. Sam kicked his head for good measure. "Stay dead, asshole." Cheri joined them, tears mixing with dirt on her face. "We did it. We actually killed him." Irene pulled both women into a tight hug, her cheerfulness returning like dawn. "We're still here. That's what matters." But he was right about one thing. This war is far from over. In the distance, new reptilian howls answered from the valleys below. The night was young, and Earth still burned. The mountain air tasted of smoke, blood, and victory. Irene stood over Vexor's massive corpse, chest heaving, her brunette hair matted with sweat and green ichor. She allowed herself one bright, exhausted smile. "He's really dead. We did that." Sam kicked the Reptilian's head again for emphasis, then winced at her own injuries. "Fucking finally." Took 10 chapters, several broken ribs, and one very pissed-off bat. She laughed, the sound raw and manic. "Hey, Vexor, how's the weather down there in lizard hell? Hope it's humid." Cheri approached slowly, rifle still in her hands, her quiet blue eyes fixed on the dead overseer. "I can't believe it. The one who hunted us gone." Her British voice was softer, but carried new steel. Stan would have been proud. He'd probably be calculating the exact force needed to crack that thick skull. Resistance fighters gathered around, cheering hoarsely. Someone started recording the body on a battered phone for propaganda. Reyes, the grizzled commander, clapped Irene on the shoulder. "You three turned the tide up here." Vexor was one of their strongest sector lords. "This buys us time." Irene nodded, already shifting back into calm leadership mode. "Time we use wisely. What's the bigger picture? We can't celebrate while the rest of the world is still burning." Reyes led them to a surviving armored truck where a laptop showed fragmented satellite feeds and resistance reports. The Reptilians are fracturing without unified command in this region, but they're doubling down elsewhere. New York, London, Beijing, major hives. They're accelerating the skinning operations. Millions gone already. Sam leaned in, sarcasm dripping. "Brilliant. We kill the local middle manager, and the rest of the cosmic probation officers just get angrier. Typical HR." Cheri studied the maps quietly. "There's a major resistance stronghold forming near the old NORAD site in Colorado. They're gathering scientists, military remnants, and they have working orbital comms. If we can reach them, we might coordinate a real counterstrike." Irene's eyes lit up with determined cheer. "Then that's our next goal. We honor Stan by finishing what he started. Pack light, take the best weapons, and move before more of them come looking for their dead boss." They spent the next 2 hours scavenging the ruined lodge and arming up. Sam traded her battered bat for a reinforced one wrapped in barbed wire and duct tape, naming it Stan's Revenge. Cheri chose a compact rifle with a suppressor, while Irene took a tactical vest loaded with magazines and medical supplies. As dawn broke gray and smoky, the convoy of 6 vehicles rolled down the mountain roads. Irene rode in the lead truck, scanning ahead. "Stay sharp. They'll know Vexor fell soon." Halfway down the winding pass, trouble found them. A roar of engines announced a reptilian ambush, stolen military Humvees, and technical trucks bristling with alien weaponry. A new voice crackled over open channels, colder and more refined than Vexor's. "This is Overseer KLYSS. Vexor was a blunt instrument. You have done us a favor by removing him. Now, surrender the 3 females responsible. Their defiance will serve as excellent entertainment in the breeding pits." Sam snorted from the gunner position. Breeding pits? Pass. I've had worse Tinder dates. The ambush erupted. Bullets and energy lances streaked across the road. Irene swerved the truck hard, keeping calm as rounds pinged off the armor. Evasive. Cheri, call out targets. Sam, light them up. Cheri leaned out a side window, picking off drivers with precise shots. 2 on the left ridge. They're trying to flank. Sam unleashed the .50 cal, laughing wildly as a reptilian technical exploded in a fireball. Eat lead. You exiled rejects. Tell your galactic council we said hi. The running battle twisted down the mountain. One resistance truck took a direct hit and flipped, but the others fought through. Irene's vehicle took heavy damage, tires shredding, forcing them to abandon it mid-chase. They piled into other trucks, bruised but unbroken. KLYSS's forces pursued for miles before breaking off as resistance air support. 2 battered Apache helicopters arrived to cover their retreat. By midday, they reached a hidden forward base in a forested valley. Exhausted, the 3 women collapsed against a log wall. Irene checked everyone's wounds, her upbeat nature shining through. We're still breathing, still moving forward. That's winning right now. Cheri stared at the mountains behind them. Vexor's gone, but this KLYSS sounds worse. Smarter. Sam grinned, cleaning green blood from her hands. Good. Smarter ones scream louder when you hit them in the right spot. I volunteer as tribute. A messenger approached with fresh intel. The road to Colorado was treacherous, filled with skin-suit infiltrators and roaming patrols. But an underground resistance network, called the Shedders, was offering escort. Irene stood, brushing dirt from her clothes. We rest 4 hours, then push on. The war isn't waiting. The 3 friends shared a quiet look. Grief for Stan, pride in their survival, an unbreakable bond forged in fire. Far away, Overseer KLYSS reviewed footage of Vexor's death, a cold reptilian smile spreading across her scaled face. The hunt had evolved. The forward base buzzed with quiet urgency under the cover of dense pines. Irene checked her tactical vest one last time, her brunette ponytail swinging as she moved with purposeful cheer. 4 hours rest is all we get. Colorado is still a long way, but every mile brings us closer to real hope. Sam lounged against a truck fender, sharpening the nails on Stan's revenge bat. Hope. I'm running on caffeine, spite, and the memory of Vexor's face when Cheri shanked him. She flashed a wicked grin. If this KLYSS wants entertainment in the breeding pits, I've got some stand-up material that'll make her regret evolving intelligence. Cheri adjusted the suppressor on her rifle, her quiet British voice steady. The Shedders are supposed to meet us at the old rail yard 20 miles from here. They know the safe routes, or so the reports say. She had changed. The naive shyness was now layered with hard-earned caution. The reduced convoy rolled out, 3 armored trucks and a scout motorcycle. Irene drove lead again, eyes scanning the ruined highway ahead. Abandoned cars and discarded human exosuits littered the shoulders like gruesome milestones. Keep comms tight, Irene said over the short-range channel. Watch for anyone moving too perfectly. Skin suits can fool you until they don't. Sam rode shotgun beside her, feet up on the dash. If someone offers me candy or says the weather's nice, I'm shooting first and asking questions never. The first few hours passed in tense quiet. Then the road narrowed through a blasted mountain pass. Cheri, watching from the rear truck, spotted movement. Contact. 2 figures on the ridge. They're waving us down like survivors. Irene slowed but didn't stop. Hold position. Sam, scope them. Sam peered through binoculars. Man and woman. Look normal, too normal. Perfect hair, even after the apocalypse. Smells like suit to me. Before they could decide, gunfire erupted from the rocks above. Real bullets, mixed with reptilian energy lances. A skin-suited infiltrator among the survivors dropped its human mask, revealing green scales beneath torn flesh. Ambush! Irene slammed the accelerator, swerving around a barricade of wrecked cars. Cheri, suppress the ridge. Cheri leaned out her window and fired controlled bursts, dropping one sniper. Her voice remained calm. They're using human shields. Bastards. Sam unleashed a barrage from the roof-mounted gun. Come on, KLYSS. Send better minions. These ones are defective. Her laughter rang out, even as rounds pinged off their armor. The convoy punched through the pass, losing one truck's rear tires, but making it to the other side. They ditched the damaged vehicle and redistributed people and gear. Hours later, they reached the old rail yard as the sun began to set. Rusted train cars formed natural barricades. A group of hardened survivors emerged, the Shedders, wearing patched military gear and carrying reptilian killing tools. Their leader, a tall woman named Mara, eyed the three newcomers. You're the ones who dropped Vexer. Word travels fast. KLYSS has put a bounty on your heads that could buy a small country. Alive preferred. Irene shook her hand firmly. We're heading to NORAD. We need safe passage through the plains. Mara nodded. We can get you halfway, but the Denver sprawl is a nightmare. Full hives there. They're processing thousands daily. Cheri spoke up softly. Then we go through smart, not loud. Stan would have mapped every weak point. Sam smirked. Yeah, and complained about the fuel efficiency the whole way. That night, around a low fire inside a reinforced boxcar, the three women shared a rare, quiet moment. Irene passed around protein bars. We're doing this. For Stan. For everyone they've taken. Cheri stared into the flames. I used to be scared of everything. Now the only thing that scares me is stopping. Sam raised her canteen. To the loudmouth, the cheerleader, and the quiet killer. May we live long enough to be annoying legends. A Shedder scout burst in. Movement on the perimeter. Not raiders. Organized. KLYSS's elite. They're hunting specifically for you three. Irene stood, calm fire in her eyes. Then we give them a proper welcome. Load up. Engines rumbled to life again as fresh danger closed in. The road to Colorado had only grown more deadly. The rail yard came alive with the growl of engines and the click of weapons being readied. Irene moved with calm purpose, directing Shedders to defensive positions behind rusted train cars. They want us alive. Use that. Make them pay for every step. Sam checked the magazine on her rifle before slinging Stan's revenge bat across her back. Alive. Cute. I plan on sending most of them back in multiple pieces. Her sarcasm cut through the tension like a blade. KLYSS must be really bored if she's personally chasing three suburban girls across 3 states. Cheri crouched beside a wheel housing, suppressor ready, her blonde hair tied back tightly. They're coming from the East Trillion. I count at least 12 signatures. Moving like they've done this before. Mara nodded at the three women. You're the prize. We'll draw them in. You hit them from the flanks. Headlights pierced the darkness as KLYSS's elite convoy rolled into the yard. Modified armored vehicles with reptilian modifications grafted onto human tech. A amplified voice echoed across the rails. Irene, Samantha, Cheri. Your elimination of Vexer has earned you my personal attention. Surrender now, and your deaths will be educational rather than agonizing. Sam popped up long enough to fire a burst and duck back down. Educational? Pass. I've seen enough of your education, wearing my neighbors like cheap Halloween costumes. The battle erupted in a storm of gunfire and energy blasts. Irene led a flanking team, moving with upbeat calm, picking off targets with precise shots. Keep them focused on the center. Cheri, you're up. Cheri slipped through the shadows like a ghost. her former shyness replaced by lethal quiet. She planted an explosive charge on the lead enemy vehicle and melted back into cover. The blast lit up the night, flipping the truck and sending 2 reptilians flying. Sam laughed wildly as she charged a disoriented elite guard, bat cracking against scaled knees. "Timber, you walking luggage." She finished the creature with a point-blank rifle shot. That one's for every sarcastic joke Stan never got to make. Kale YSS herself appeared on the roof of the second vehicle, taller and more elegant than Vexer, with iridescent scales and colder yellow eyes. She carried a sleek energy lance. Impressive, primitive mammals with spirit. I almost regret what comes next. She leaped down and engaged directly. Irene met her first, knife in one hand and pistol in the other. The two clashed in a whirlwind of strikes. Kale YSS was faster, her lance grazing Irene's side and drawing blood. "You fight with annoying optimism," Kale YSS hissed. "It will be satisfying to peel it away." Cheri appeared from behind, firing into Kale YSS's shoulder. "Get away from her." Sam joined the fray, bat swinging in brutal arcs. 3 against 1, Scale Queen. Bad odds for you. Kale YSS fought like a seasoned killer, wounding Sam across the thigh and nearly impaling Cheri. But the 3 women moved in sync. Irene's calm leadership, Sam's wild aggression, and Cheri's precise support, creating a deadly triangle. Mara's shedders pushed the rest of the elite hard. 2 more enemy vehicles exploded. The surviving Reptilians began to fall back under the coordinated assault. Kale YSS disengaged with a furious hiss, leaping onto a retreating technical. "This round is yours, but I have your scent now. Enjoy your little road trip. The hives between here and Colorado will be waiting." The enemy pulled out, leaving behind burning wreckage and dead Reptilians. Irene pressed a hand to her bleeding side, breathing hard but smiling. "Everyone's still with us." Sam limped over, grinning through pain, still breathing, still pissed, still fabulous. Cheri helped bandage Irene's wound, her hands steady. "She's smarter than Vexer, more dangerous. We need to change routes." Mara approached, wiping green blood from her face. "We can get you through the plains via old service roads, but it'll be slower. The Denver Hive is a meat grinder." The 3 women shared a look around the dying fires. Grief for Stan, fresh wounds, and growing exhaustion weighed on them. But so did unbreakable resolve. Irene stood tall. "We rest 2 hours, then move. Colorado is calling." As the convoy prepared to roll out once more under the cover of pre-dawn darkness, distant howls and engine rumbles promised that Kale YSS was far from finished. The convoy slipped out of the rail yard under a bruised sky, headlights off, running dark on old service roads. Irene gripped the wheel of the lead truck, her side bandaged tight, yet her voice stayed upbeat over the comms. "Eyes open. We're entering the plains. No heroics, just smart miles." Sam rode in the passenger seat, leg propped up, Stan's revenge bat across her lap. "Smart miles? In lizard country? That's adorable. I'm voting we just drive really fast and flip off anything with scales." She winced as the truck hit a pothole. Kale YSS is probably already planning her dramatic villain monologue for round 2. Cheri sat in the back of the second truck with Mara's shedders, rifle ready, suppressor screwed on. "The Denver Hive is 40 miles ahead," she said softly into her mic, her British accent calm but alert. "Satellite scraps show heavy activity. Processing centers. We should skirt east, through the old farmlands." The flatlands stretched out like a graveyard. Fields once golden now lay black and trampled. Discarded exosuits dotted the landscape like fallen scarecrows. Hollowed-out humans left to rot after the Reptilians took what they wanted. Hours dragged by intense silence, broken only by distant thunder and the occasional crackle of radio static. Then the smell hit them, Thick, metallic, sickening. Jesus, Sam muttered, covering her nose. That's not roadkill. Irene slowed the convoy near a rise. Below them lay a nightmare, a massive open-air processing site. Hundreds of humans in chains, reptilian overseers in stolen military gear, herding them toward skinning stations. Vats of bubbling chemicals steamed under harsh lights. Screams carried on the wind. Cheri's voice trembled with quiet rage. We can't just drive past this. Mara's voice cut in over comms. We don't have the numbers for a full assault. This is a major hive node. Irene stared for a long second, then made the call. We hit the power station on the edge. Take out their lights and comms. Create chaos. Free who we can. Then run like hell. Sam, Cheri, you're with me on the ground team. Sam grinned fiercely. Finally, my bat was getting bored. They left most of the convoy hidden and moved in on foot under cover of tall grass. Irene led with calm confidence, signaling positions. Sam moved like a predator, sarcasm replaced by lethal focus. Cheri ghosted through shadows, every step more assured than the last. They reached the generator building. Cheri planted charges, while Sam stood guard, quietly dropping a patrolling reptilian with her bat. Night-night, suit wearer. The explosion ripped through the night. Floodlights died. Darkness swallowed the processing camp. Chaos erupted instantly. Irene's team stormed the perimeter fences, cutting wires and freeing prisoners. Run! Head east toward the Trilene! She shouted, firing controlled bursts. Sam went full berserk, bat swinging in wide, bloody arcs. Come on, you scaly fuckers! Fresh meat, right here! She crushed one overseer's skull and laughed. That's for every neighbor you wore. Cheri provided sniper cover from a ridge, dropping guards with cold precision. Irene, movement on your 6. Sam, watch the big one. A larger reptilian, one of KLYSS's lieutenants, charged Irene. She dodged, stabbed, and rolled, her cheerfulness fueling relentless movement. Not today. They freed nearly 80 prisoners before the camp's response became overwhelming. Reptilian reinforcements poured in from Denver proper. Extract. Now, Irene ordered. The team sprinted back toward the convoy with a trail of freed humans behind them. Gunfire chased them across the fields. One truck took heavy damage but kept running. As they roared away into the night, Sam looked back at the burning processing site. We just pissed off the whole hive. Worth it. Cheri, breathing hard, allowed herself a small, proud smile. Stan would have called that statistically reckless and morally necessary. Irene checked the mirrors, pain flaring in her side but determination burning brighter. Colorado is closer now. We rest at the next safe waypoint. KLYSS will be coming faster after this. Far behind them, Overseer KLYSS received the report. Her scaled lips curled in a cold smile. Good. Let them run. Let them hope. It makes the harvest sweeter. The road stretched on, darker and deadlier than ever. The convoy limped into the foothills near Colorado Springs under a blood-red sunrise. Irene's eyes were heavy, but her spirit remained bright as she addressed the group. NORAD is close. We push through these last ridges and link up with the main resistance. This is it. Sam reloaded her weapons with sharp clicks. About damn time. My bat's thirsty, and my sarcasm is running on fumes. She forced a grin, but the exhaustion showed. Cheri studied the maps on a battered tablet. The passes are heavily monitored. KLYSS will be waiting. They were right. As the convoy entered a narrow canyon, the trap closed perfectly. Explosives sealed the rear exit. KLYSS's full force. Dozens of elite reptilians in advanced stolen armor descended from both ridges. Her voice echoed from loudspeakers. End of the road, little mammals. You have entertained me long enough. The battle exploded. Irene coordinated with calm precision. Defensive circle. Use the trucks as cover. Cheri, high ground. Sam, break their lines. Sam charged like a blonde whirlwind, Stan's revenge bat cracking knees and skulls while she screamed taunts. Come on, KLYSS. Face us yourself, you scaly coward. Cheri climbed a rocky outcrop and unleashed deadly accurate fire, dropping officers and drone operators. Her quiet focus had become lethal. KLYSS finally appeared at the head of her troops, wearing sleek black armor, energy lance glowing. She moved like lightning, cutting down resistance fighters and heading straight for the three women. Irene met her head-on. Their duel was fierce. Knife and pistol against energy lance. You lost your war once, Irene shouted, parrying a strike. You'll lose again. KLYSS laughed coldly. This time we take the planet. Your species is livestock. Sam joined the fight, bat swinging. Cheri provided covering fire. The three moved as one deadly unit, wounding KLYSS multiple times, but the Overseer was far stronger than Vexor. A lucky energy blast caught Sam in the chest, sending her flying. She crashed hard, coughing blood. Fuck, that hurt. Irene and Cheri dragged her behind cover as the resistance fought desperately. Mara's shedders were being overwhelmed. We need an opening, Irene called. Cheri spotted it, a narrow ravine leading toward NORAD. There, if we break through, we can make the final run. They fought their way to the vehicles. Irene drove, with Sam slumped beside her, Cheri in the back, providing rear cover. Two trucks made it through the gap as the canyon battle raged behind them. KLYSS's furious roar followed them. Run! I will be waiting at your precious mountain. They tore across the final stretch of ruined highway, smoke rising from NORAD in the distance. Resistance signals finally crackled through clearly. Reinforcements were coming. Sam wheezed a weak laugh. We're almost there. Don't let the lizard bitch win now. Irene gripped the wheel tighter, tears in her eyes but voice steady. We won't. Hold on, Sam. The mountain stronghold grew closer, but KLYSS's remaining forces were already converging for the final showdown. The tunnel fell eerily quiet except for the crackling of dying fires and the moans of the wounded. Irene knelt in a pool of blood, some green, most red, cradling Cheri's still body. The quiet British woman's face looked strangely peaceful, as if she had finally shed the last traces of her old shyness. Irene's cheerful mask finally shattered. Tears streamed freely down her dirt-streaked face as she whispered, You were supposed to make it, Cheri. You were becoming so strong. Resistance soldiers moved carefully around her, securing the area and dragging away KLYSS's corpse for study. The general approached, voice respectful but urgent. We've won the battle for NORAD thanks to you three. Two now. Global resistance networks are lighting up. Your stand here is already becoming legend. Irene gently closed Cheri's eyes and stood on shaky legs. She walked to the medical bay where Sam lay unconscious, machines beeping steadily. The doctors looked grim. She took a bad hit. One told her, internal bleeding. We're doing everything we can, but she's tough. She's fighting. Irene sat beside Sam's bed and took her hand. You'd better wake up, you sarcastic pain in the ass. Cheri didn't make it. I can't lose you too. Hours passed in a blur of debriefings and strategy meetings. Irene forced herself to function, channeling her grief into calm leadership the way she always had. She shared everything she knew about the Reptilians, their exile, their hatred, their weaknesses. Deep inside the mountain, resistance scientists worked on Stan's old frequency designs, now boosted with NORAD's powerful transmitters. Plans formed for a coordinated global push using high-frequency weapons and targeted strikes on major hives. Sam finally woke near midnight, pale and weak, but with fire still in her eyes. Irene, she rasped. Cheri. Irene's voice broke as she told her. Sam turned her face away, silent for a long time. When she finally spoke, her usual sarcasm was raw and cracked. Both of them. Fuck. We really are the last two idiots standing. Irene squeezed her hand. We finish this. For Stan. For Cheri. For everyone. Sam nodded weakly. Then get me out of this damn bed. I've got a lizard empire to insult one last time. Outside, new reports flooded in. With KLYSS dead, Reptilian command in North America was fracturing, but desperate pockets were launching brutal counterattacks. The war was far from over, but humanity finally had a real chance. Irene stood at a command console overlooking the war room, Cheri's and Stan's knives tucked into her belt. Her upbeat personality was battered, but not broken. Tomorrow they would begin the final offensive. Irene stood in the heart of NORAD's war room, surrounded by glowing screens and hardened commanders. 2 weeks had passed since the battle at the mountain. Sam was finally on her feet again, pale, scarred, moving slower than before, but alive and as sharp-tongued as ever. Global resistance is syncing up, Irene announced, her voice carrying that familiar upbeat strength, even through exhaustion. Stan's frequency weapon, boosted by NORAD's arrays, is ready. We hit the major hives simultaneously at dawn. Sam leaned against a console, Stan's revenge bat resting beside her. About time. I've been itching to tell every lizard left on this planet exactly where they can shove their exile. Her sarcasm had returned, but it carried deeper weight now. For Cheri. For Stan. Let's make it hurt. The plan was bold. Coordinated strikes across every continent using high-frequency sonic arrays, targeted nukes on the largest hives, and ground teams mopping up the disoriented reptilians. Irene and Sam would lead one of the strike teams targeting the massive Denver hive that had nearly killed them earlier. As dawn broke, they rolled out in a reinforced convoy. Irene drove point, Sam riding beside her with a rifle across her lap. You ready for this? Irene asked quietly. Sam smirked. Ready to end these scaly pricks? Born ready. Just don't go full heroic sacrifice on me. I'm not losing the last functional member of our stupid little family. The Denver hive rose like a nightmare fortress. Half-built skyscrapers wrapped in alien scaffolding, processing vats steaming in the morning light. Thousands of reptilians scrambled as the global frequency broadcast began. Their screams echoed for miles as the sonic attack crippled their coordination. Irene's team hit hard. Push forward. Don't let them recover. Sam fought like a woman possessed, rifle barking and bat swinging in brutal finishing blows. This one's for Cheri, you bastards. She crushed a reptilian officer's skull. And this one's for Stan, you cosmic fucking losers. Irene moved with calm, deadly precision beside her, issuing orders and dropping targets. Together they carved a path toward the hive's central command spire. Inside the spire, they found the last major overseer for the region, a heavily armored reptilian named Zorith, one of KLYSS's superiors. He hissed in rage as they entered. You, the last two mammals. Your kind should have stayed prey. Sam laughed. Prey? We've been kicking your exiled asses for weeks. Time to go home. Or die here. Your choice. The final fight was vicious. Zorith was enormous and powerful, but the two women fought with perfect synergy born from shared grief and survival. Irene distracted him with precise gunfire and grenades, while Sam closed in, bat cracking against joints, and weak points Stan had once identified. In the end, Irene drove Cheri's knife deep into the creature's throat, while Sam finished him with a point-blank shotgun blast to the head. The Denver hive fell. As they emerged from the smoking ruins, reports flooded in. Hives were collapsing worldwide. The frequency weapons had turned the tide. Humanity was pushing back hard. Irene and Sam stood together on a shattered overpass, watching smoke rise from the defeated hive. Irene slipped an arm around Sam's shoulders. "We did it," Irene said softly, tears in her eyes. "They're breaking." Sam nodded, voice thick. "Yeah, but it cost us everything." Far away, scattered reptilian remnants began fleeing into hiding, realizing their ancient punishment had become their tomb. The long war was finally turning in humanity's favor. The world had changed forever by the time the final reptilian strongholds crumbled. Irene and Sam stood on the shattered balcony of a reclaimed Denver skyscraper, watching the sunrise paint the ruins in soft gold. Smoke still rose from the defeated hives, but the frequency weapons continued their relentless broadcast, driving the last scattered exiles deeper into hiding. Irene's brunette hair whipped in the wind as she leaned on the railing, her body covered in fresh scars and old bandages. "It's really over," she said softly, that unbreakable cheerfulness finally returning like the sun itself. "They're broken, stranded, no more skin suits, no more pretending." Sam stood beside her, Stan's revenge bat resting on her shoulder like an old friend. She looked thinner, harder, her blonde hair cropped short after the last battle. "Over? Nah, just on pause. But we kicked their scaled asses across the planet. That'll do for now." Her sarcasm was gentler these days, tempered by unimaginable loss. The resistance had become something bigger, a global alliance rebuilding from the ashes. NORAD's signal had united what remained of humanity. Reports poured in daily. Paris liberated, Tokyo purged, the last hives in Australia falling one by one. Irene touched the 2 knives on her belt, Stan's and Cheri's. They should be here. Stan would be geeking out over the new transmitter arrays. Cheri, she'd be quietly amazed at how brave she became. Sam swallowed hard, eyes distant. Yeah, the quiet one ended up the bravest of us all. And our nerd saved the world with math and spite. She let out a shaky laugh. "If I start crying again, blame the dust." They had lost so many, yet the 2 survivors carried their friends forward in every decision. A messenger approached with fresh news. "Overseer remnants are surrendering in the south. They're begging for transport off-planet." The Galactic Council finally responded. They're acknowledging the exile breach and offering limited aid in exchange for the surviving reptilians. Irene smiled, calm and bright. "Good. Let them take their garbage home. Earth isn't their prison anymore." Sam snorted. "Tell them to send a very strongly worded complaint about customer service. 3,000 years of sulking, and they still lost to 4 suburban assholes and a baseball bat." Months later, the world was healing. Irene became a symbol of resilience, helping coordinate reconstruction efforts. With her steady optimism, Sam channeled her grief and rage into training new fighters, her sarcasm keeping morale alive even on the darkest days. On the 1-year anniversary of the night, all hell broke loose in Willowbrook Estates. The 2 women returned to the ruined suburbs. The old house still stood, battered, overgrown, but theirs. They sat on the cracked porch as evening fell, sharing a warm beer. "To Stan," Irene said, raising her bottle. "To Cheri," Sam added. They drank in silence for a while, the weight of everything settling into something almost peaceful. "You know," Sam said eventually, "if they were here, Stan would be calculating rebuilding probabilities, and Cheri would be making terrible tea." Irene laughed softly. "And we'd be right here, together, far above." The stars came out, no longer just distant lights, but reminders that humanity had faced the worst the galaxy could throw at them and survived. The Reptilians were finished. Their ancient punishment had ended in defeat on a planet that refused to bow. Irene and Sam, the last 2 of 4, looked toward the future with scarred but hopeful hearts. The adventure wasn't over. It had only just begun.